Hello students, welcome to English class. I am Aditya Sharma and we are dealing with heaven if you are not here on earth. This is the 10th chapter in our textbook. Okay. The particular poem, Heaven if you are not here on earth, is originally written in Kannada by Kuempu and translated to English by Dr. C. Nagana. Now, before dealing with the poem, let's talk about poet himself. Those who have heard about Kuempu, you know more about Kuempu, I guess. Or most of you are already familiar with Kuempu. Last year, from first year onwards, we are studying so many translated works, and this is one of such works. Now, in order to understand the poem, let's go and understand about poet and his approach. Kuempu, Uppalli Venkata Puttappa, or K.V. Puttappa as he put it over there, is born in 1904 and lived up to 1994. Now, observe over here his ideology. He is, of course, of rationalistic approach, and he called his approach as universal humanism, or in his own word, it is Vishwamanavadavada, especially in Kannada. What about this particular approach, Vishwamanavadavada? Over here, it's a kind of search of God in human being. Understood? God, something like the idea is something like God is not somewhere else, heaven is not somewhere else, heaven is itself in the earth, and we can be the gods. This is one of the idea, and this particular idea is discussed in this particular poem. That is heaven if you are not here on earth. Something more about him. He is first of 8 recipient of Jnanapith Award for Kannada literature, and he is second poet after going by to be honored or rewarded as Rashtrakavi. Understood? He is also known for his revival of era of epic with this well-known text, Sri Ramayana Darshanam. So this is another part we have to understand over here. This is in very short words. Of course, he is conferred with the Padma Vibhushan Award by Government of India, and he is also the writer of state anthem, Kannada state anthem, Jai Bharati Janani Jate. These are the things, some of the things about him. And please open your textbook. The poem starts in the page number 90, and we can go to page number 92. There is something about the author or something about the poet as well as translator. Please go to page number 92. Let me read it out. K.V. Puttappa is widely known by his pen name Kuempu. He is acknowledged as one of the greatest poet of 20th century Kannada literature. He is the first among 8 recipients of Jnanapith Awards for Kannada. He is the second of him going the pipe among Kannada poets to be rewarded as Rashtrakavi, a national poet. Rashtrakavi means national poet. His work Sri Ramayana Darshanam, the rewriting of great epic of Ramayana in modern Kannada, is regarded as revival of era of epics, Mahakavya, in contemporary form and charm. He is immortalized by some of his praises, in particular from his contribution to universal humanism, or in his own words, Vishwamanavadavada. He was conferred Padma Vibhushan by Government of India. He was spent in Karnataka state. He has spent Kannada state anthem, Jai Bharati Janani Jate. This is what we have discussed. And there is something about Professor C. Nagana. He is well-known poet, critic, and translator, and he has translated so many works from English to Kannada. And we have to observe he is a professor in comparative literature and translative studies. Besides being director of Parasanga, the publication division of University of Mysore, a number of organizations have honored him for his literary and cultural contribution. These are the things we can go with the text. Okay, and there are some other things we have to discuss before reading the poem. Understood? Now, the first question we can ask ourselves about heaven. What? Heaven. So, the concept of Swarga or heaven. We all are familiar with the concept of heaven. In a different civilization, different religions, and different era, we have discussed about different heaven in its own way. And in many of the cases, it's not only heaven, of course, heaven, hell, gods and demons, all these things we are very familiar with, isn't it? So, in that case, let's talk about what is heaven. What have we studied or discussed about heaven? So, who lives in the heaven? First question. Who will be there in the heaven? The gods and goddesses and nymphs. So these are the concepts we have studied earlier or we have come across. There is something more to it. Can we, human being, go to heaven or Swarga? Yes, we can go to Swarga, of course. It is what our text, sacred text says, right? Who will go to the Swarga or the heaven? Those who have not sinned, those who have done great deeds, the virtuous man will go to heaven after their death and after life. What if there is a person who has sinned, who has committed all sorts of crimes and spending his life in the earth? He will not be sent to heaven, instead he will be sent to the hell to receive punishment. So, a soul or a human being can go to heaven after his death as a reward for his virtuous life. This is one of the concepts. Okay, heaven is given to us for as a reward. Reward for what? For our virtuous life. Understood? So, if we can go to heaven, this is the concept. So, what generally happens? Like all the stories we have heard, people, only those who lived virtuous, they can go to heaven, and heaven is not in the earth. But our poet over here differs from this thought. He says that if there is a heaven anywhere, if there is a heaven, the heaven should be, must be, or is in the earth itself. Heaven is not anywhere else. Heaven is in the earth itself. This is what this concept we are going to discuss in this particular poem. Now the second part. Okay, if heaven is in the earth, who are the people who live in the heaven? Of course, gods and goddesses and nymphs, right? Where are they? The question will definitely come, right? Yes or no? So, poet says that gods and goddesses and nymphs, heavenly nymphs, they are nobody else. We ourselves have to become them. We ourselves can become gods and goddesses and heavenly nymphs. This is one of the concepts we are going to discuss. The next part, what else we have studied about heaven? Heaven is a place where everybody will be leading a happy life, pleasure life, where they need not worry about anything, where they are secure, they will receive all the love in the world, right? Over here, when people or we ourselves become gods, he says, when we become gods and nymphs, all those heavenly bliss, happiness, we will get over here. So, in order to make earth a heaven, what we need to do, only thing we need to do is that we have to overcome from our shortcomings and negative thoughts, negative ideas, and this heinous life. We have to live the virtuous life over here. When we live this virtuous life over here, we need not go to the heaven after that. We can have that heaven over here in the earth. This is one of the concepts. So, heaven is not something you can get after the life, after your death. Instead, we have to make heaven, we have to create a heaven over here in the earth itself. When we live like gods, when we are virtuous, we can enjoy that heavenly bliss, happiness and peace over here. Understood? This is one of the concepts he discusses about in this particular poem. Understood? And then there is something more about it. Okay? What is that? Search of unknown. Well, there is a question. How many people have visited heaven and came back? And how does this heaven look like? In modern day, we can say that Nobody has returned from heaven to tell the stories, right? In modern days, I'm stressing it out. And then there comes another idea over there. How is heaven described? A place of beauty. Of course, place of beauty is there forever. And now, this particular place of beauty we may have read in the books, in the sacred texts, or maybe in the TV shows, especially about this heaven and all. What are the things you can guess? Nothing more than imagination of human mind. Okay, all those who have written the texts, all those who have written these poems and stories, and even they made movies about heaven, they are human beings itself, and all the images they have given are the images either they have imagined or they have seen in the earth itself. These are the two concepts we have to understand. So, with that we can say that human mind or human imagination has conjured the concept of heaven and heavenly bliss. Understood? Our imagination has created heaven. Or in our imagination we have said, okay, heaven is something like this. There will be music, dancers, and nobody will be there, enough to eat, you need not worry about all these things. Who told that? Some poets, some other writers, some other people, right? So, who are they? They are not gods, they are human beings. If they are human beings, and this concept of heaven is nothing but imagination of human beings or conjured by humans' mind, right? So this is the concept we are going to deal with this. Okay, poem is very short and well, it's thought-provoking poem over there. Understood? There is something more about it. Heaven is filled with beauty. Okay, heaven gives happiness. Now, two concepts. Let me write down. One. Beauty, happiness, and peace, etc. Including we can say justice and all other things. Beauty. Where else you can see the beauty? In the nature. Beauty, you can see beauty in nature. So there are so many aspects of nature which are beautiful, which attracts us, and more than that, when we see that beautiful nature, we become happy. We will feel we do not worry about our other thoughts. Okay, we can keep on enjoying this, especially if you are lover of nature. But not everybody can see that beauty of life. Everybody may not find it easy to understand this beauty of nature and understand it. So sometimes they need some help. Sometimes people need help to look into the beauty of the nature, and who will help them? There is another problem over there, and the answer is given in the poem itself if we go back to the poem. Shall we go back to the poem and go to page number 90 in your textbook? Open the poem and just read it. But before going to read it, there are two questions, two ideas have given to us. That is, one, what do you think of heaven? Right? Do you agree with us that one's life is what one makes of it? Second question, what comes in your mind when you think of the word heaven? Just think about this word heaven. What do you think of the word heaven? So students, let's read the poem. Open your textbook. Heaven, if you are not here on earth, where else could you be? If we ourselves cannot be gods, then there can be no gods. If we ourselves aren't heavenly nymphs, the nymphs are not elsewhere. While this roaring stream rushes fast, rolling surf at the edge of the waves, the tender sunshine leans on the verdant gardens. And then the gentle sun make this earth heaven. In the splendor of harvest and of moonlight, heaven lies all over. Imbibing and spilling the song of nectar, the poet does create heaven on earth. So very short poem, 4 stanzas are there, and well, in this 14 lines, what is our poet trying to say, or he discussed? Poet says that if there is heaven, it is in the earth. And he discusses in the last 2 paragraphs, he discusses about the heavenly beauty of nature, or nature is heaven. This is what he shows it over here. Understood? So in that case, let's go through the poem once again and try to understand it. Heaven. If you are not here on earth, where else could you be? So he is not, seems to like he is addressing the heaven, right? Heaven, where are you? This kind of question. Where else you could be? So what is this? He says that, or the first 2 lines, the idea is something like this. If heaven is not here on earth, if heaven is not here, then where else it could be? He wonders. Observe over here. He wonders. Ashcharyapadtane. There is no way heaven can exist anywhere. This is his idea. If heaven exists, it should be on earth. If it is not in the earth, it is not possible to have heaven anywhere else. This is what first 2 lines marks. Next one, second stanza. If we ourselves cannot be gods, then there can be no gods. Now the concept of God. What is it? We all believe that gods live in heaven. Now heaven is in the earth itself. So God must be over here. But who are these gods? If we ourselves cannot be gods. So who has to become gods? We have to become gods. How to become gods? We can discuss in the next class. We ourselves must become the gods. If we do not become gods, if we do not become godly people, ಅಥವಾ ದೇವತಾ ಮನುಷ್ಯರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವಲ್ಲ, if we do not become such a good virtuous people, then understand this, the gods cannot be exist, or no, gods are not real. If there are gods, we have to become those gods. Same thing comes in the next 2 lines. If ourselves aren't heavenly nymphs. Nymphs, actually the word nymph is from Greek mythology, and over there nymph means minor gods. They are special nature gods and depicted as a beautiful maiden and all. But in original version, in our textbooks, page number 94 itself, it has been given over here, the original version. Our poet, or in the original version, he says Apsareyaru. So Apsare, that's another concept, or especially the concept Indian mythology. So let's go with the word, right now over here, go with the word nymphs. The nymphs are heavenly creatures considered to be beautiful maidens. And what do they do? What do they do? They serve annuvantaddu. Let's continue over here. The nymphs. Who are these nymphs? Ourselves. Human beings, ourselves. We have to become like nymphs, godly creatures, heavenly creatures, heavenly people, or heavenly gods, goddesses. We have to become. Nobody else will come for us. So if you want to change, if you want to go to heaven, understand this, you will not go to heaven, you cannot go to heaven. Instead, you can create heaven here on earth. This is one of the idea. In order to create that heaven, we need that gods and goddesses. We ourselves has to become these gods and goddesses. Understood? Or nymphs. So let's go to third stanza over here. What is over? Then third and fourth stanzas, he discusses about the beauty of nature, and he calls it as heavenly beauty. Observe over here. While this roaring stream rushes fast, rolling surf at the edge of waves, roaring streams. The stream, when it moves fast, it makes a roaring noise. You can see heaven in over there. It's not only the noise, it also the beauty it creates.
when it's rushing very fast, when it's moving. Then rolling surf on the edge of waves. Waves. Where do we find waves? Yes, of course, beaches, seas, oceans and all, right? So when these waves hit the shore, it creates a lot of foam, right? Surf. A lot of surf will be there. Now observe that he is talking about that waves breaking on the shore. So when waves breaking on the shore, that's a thing of beauty. That's why so many people go, you can see in the beaches every evenings, right? So roaring surf when it rolls over, when it hits, when it dashes the shore, and at the edge of the waves, there is surf will be there, no? That is heavenly beauty. That is the beauty of nature. The tender sunshine leans on verdant garden. Tender sunshine. Tender means young, delicate or soft. He is not talking about the sun of midday. Understood? Sometimes, usually the middays, how do we consider the sun? First chapter we have come across the word garish sun, right? It's not garish, it's a tender. So when the sun is tender, again you can feel heavenly bliss over there. That is the beauty of nature, and that beauty of nature he calls it as heavenly beauty. Leans on verdant gardens. Verdant means, especially one meaning is greenery, or especially rich vegetation, especially garden. This is something like early morning. Okay, if you go to early morning to the garden and the sunshine is leaning upon, not coming straight from the top, from the observe over there during the sunrise and all, the sunshine, the sun is not hot, it is tender. At that time, that is the beauty of the nature. Maybe even in the evening also we have observed that, right? And the gentle sun makes this earth heaven. So these are the natural beauties, and this nature is what makes us happy. It what makes us peace. This is heaven. That's what our poet says. Now there is something more about it. It's not only one thing, there is something more. He says in the next stanza, observe. In the splendor of harvest, splendor, glory. What is the meaning? Glory. Or we can even, in Kannada, we can say that Vaibhava, being magnificent, quality of being splendid, grand, etc. of harvest. So he is talking about the harvesting season, when everything is rich, especially what we are talking about in the harvest season. Yes, we are talking about rich crops we are going to get, right? Just about to be reaped. Now then, of moonlight. Over here, moonlit nights. Just imagine the moonlit nights of full moon day. Okay? The entire nature looks differently. Entire nature in the silvery color looks beautiful, isn't it? So he is talking about that. Heaven lies all over. If you have the eyes to observe this beauty, then you will see the beauty everywhere. It lies all over. So beauty is everywhere. Understood? Whether it's in a harvest, during the splendor of harvest, or in the moonlit nights, or in the verdant gardens, or tender sunshine, roaring stream, rushing surf, everywhere you can see this beauty of nature, and this is heaven. This is heavenly beauty. Is it all? No, there is something more to it. Next two lines. Imbibing and spilling the song of nectar. Imbibing means absorbing or drinking. Imbibing means what? Absorb or drink. Also you can use spill means over here pour something. Surivantadu. the song of nectar. What is nectar or amrita over here? So nectar is drink of gods, of course, reference to amrita over here. So the poet does create heaven on earth. Observe this part, last line. Poet creates heaven on earth. Who creates heaven? Poet. How does the poet creates the heaven in here, earth, on earth? How does he create? He imbibes, he absorbs this beauty. In this work, in his poems or in his writing, in his creation, the artist or the poet absorbs, he collects this beauty of the nature is there, no? He collects all this and then he pour it in the form of song. He gives to us in the song, in the form of song. There is something more about it. He calls this song as nectar. As gods and nymphs can enjoy the nectar in their heaven, mythical heaven, human beings, we can enjoy that same bliss by reading and enjoying the song written by these poets, written by the poets, especially the songs which imbibed the beauty of the nature. Understood? Poets, what does the poet do? How does poet create, or what helps poet to create such a song? Observe, the poets are more interested in nature, more attracted to nature, more attached to the nature. Because they are more attached to the nature, they can see all this beauty, they can enjoy this beauty. Not only enjoying, they can absorb this beauty in their poems. Okay? We have already discussed, I have already told you that not all of us can see the beauty as it is. So we may need some support. From where? From poets. The poets help us to understand this beauty by collecting all this beauty in their poems and pouring it in the form of amrita or the songs, and we can enjoy this beauty. This is how the poet creates the heaven on earth. Hope you are paying attention. Please go through the poem and have some doubts. Come back tomorrow in next class. Thank you.